Brama collection consists of 3 products. Currently we have the Brama preamplifier, the Brama mono power amplifier, and the Brama integrated amplifier. We decided we wanted to go with a timeless design aesthetic. It doesn't convey a retro feel or a futuristic feel. It conveys a feel that applies no matter what time period. So when you view the front panel of the integrated amplifier or the preamplifier, what you see when you look at it is a gauge in the center and beautifully proportioned. With the front, you also see 2 knobs. And you would think, well, where's the on-off button? Where are the LEDs that indicate things? And basically the knob itself is a push button on both sides. One for on-off, one for mute. The reason why we decided to go with a solid body enclosure, it completely shields the product from all interference because it's completely enclosed and grounded. Another important attribute is the thermal properties. By having it as a solid piece, the heat more evenly distributes throughout the entire aluminum enclosure. When you have individual chassis pieces, they're cut. That's a gap where heat can't transfer as easily. This chassis involves a fine bead blasting process after the machining. It involves anodizing as well as laser engraving. And the consistency and the quality, no matter which way you turn and look at it, has to be exact. A very unique feature of all 3 Brama products is the power supply. And while they aren't identical, they use a similar topology. It's based on a switch mode power supply, but for the outputs that feed the line stage sections in the preamplifier and in the integrated amplifier, they're linear super-regulated by Bellison regulators. And this power supply is custom designed from the ground up for audio applications specifically. And that really matters because we're dealing with keeping noise out of the audio band completely. But there's more to it than just noise, it's also responsiveness. A power supply provides DC rails, which you would think are going to always be consistent, but the load that they drive is constantly changing because it's music, and music is constantly moving and changing. So if I were to apply a push on you and you were to push back, that would be equivalent to like a DC where you could easily resist and keep it constant. But if I were to shake you very rapidly, it'd be much harder to track my movement and apply your strength and force to withstand that. A power supply has to do sort of the same thing. When it's delivering current, it's always under changing conditions, not steady state conditions. And having a lower magnetic core, meaning not using a large transformer, we're not choking instantaneous current delivery the same way that a conventional power supply would, that uses a large transformer. In fact, a large transformer has to compensate by using, after the rectification stage, large capacitors to store energy because they can't refresh fast enough on their own. AC switches at 50 or 60 cycles a second, depending where in the world you're located. But music, we're dealing with frequencies that are up to 20,000 cycles a second. By going with a power supply that switches multiple times higher than the highest audio frequency that we could hear, we could adapt very quickly to instantaneous demands in the music. With conventional linear power supplies, switching at 50 or 60 cycles, another issue they have is that under load, harmonics are always in integer multiples of those fundamental frequencies that spill into the mid-range. Not just the bass, but way into the mid-range if you look at a spectrum under load of a power supply rail. Now, in the case of our power supply, switching above 100,000 cycles a second, any of those harmonics that are emanating are way above the audio spectrum. One thing we also make sure of in all 3 Brama products is that the power supply is fully enclosed in its own chamber that's CNC machined into that solid block of aluminum. And by keeping it fully enclosed, there's no chance of any electromagnetic interference to radiate onto any of the audio circuitry. For the Brama preamplifier and integrated amplifier, the line stage is a very unique design using a pair of matched Western Electric 300B directly heated triodes. These triodes you don't see sticking out the top, they're actually mounted on the rear panel. The entire dual mono preamplifier is mounted to the rear panel. We do this intentionally to minimize the circuit path lengths. So from the XLR input jacks to the XLR output jacks, they're all mounted directly to the preamplifier PCB. The 300B triodes are used for voltage gain. We have adjustable voltage gain selectable from the remote and independent for each input. So the user could choose the gain that best fits their source. Over the years, we determined the finest triode we could find to use for voltage gain turned out to be a 300B. And we beforehand have tried many different implementations of solid state line stages for voltage gain, but none could ever produce the magic in the music in the mid-range quite the same way. The sense of scale, the sense of realism, expansiveness, without being too colored at the same token. We wanted it to make sure it sounded very linear. Because we're using a 300B over a very short area of its operating curve, because it's only for a small signal, we get a very linear response from the tube. We also achieve very low noise for the 300B triodes by supplying their plates and cathode with bellus and superregulated voltage. The power output of the integrated amplifier is 200 watts per channel into 8 ohms, and it doubles to 400 watts per channel into 4 ohms. But in the case of the Brahma monoblock power amplifier, it's 300 watts into 8 ohms, 600 into 4 ohms, and it doubles again to 1200 watts into 2 ohms. So the entire Brahma project, start to finish, took well over 2 years, working with numerous engineers on our team, from aspects such as power supply design, PCB layout, software. But in the end, what I'm most proud about is the results that it achieves when you sit down and listen to your music on it. Right now, this is the pinnacle of what we could achieve.